Uh,
Anyways, hello, welcome back. Hi. We want to talk about fasting, and for me at least, I always relate fasting with Sabbath, and just kind of this practice where you like give up something in order to get closer with God. And a lot of times, especially like nowadays, but this is also in the New Testament. Um, these like Old Testament practices were kind of just like let go because they were felt they weren't really valued or worth following. So I always think of like Sabbath and fasting as kind of those two, but mostly we wanted to focus on fasting. So yeah, giving up food in order to get closer to God, which is a weird idea.
Have either of you ever like fasted in the traditional sense?
I was gonna ask that. I did. So I think for growth group during college, they're like, oh, y'all could do a 24-hour fast, a 48-hour fast, or an 8-hour fast. So naturally, I chose. I think I chose the 8-hour fast. I was gonna say I think I did 24, but I'm pretty sure I did 8-hour fasting. But either way, I remember it was like being intentional about not eating, and it kind of sucked because as the day progressed and your hunger was eating away at you, like the one thing you're thinking about is hunger. So what I've been told and I've learned is that when you are met with this like sensation of hunger, instead of thinking about your hunger, that's where you're supposed to redirect like your focus onto God. Similarly, I think you can also not only just fast from food, but you can also fast from maybe people, maybe from something that you're like usually doing. That's what Lent is it Lent? Yeah, what I give up for Lent before Easter, Thanksgiving. It's the absence of something, as Tyler said, in order to help you redirect that focus. But like every time you feel it, you redirect that focus back to God. So yeah, it wasn't pleasant because fasting in the food sense has a huge psychological and like physical toll on you, and you feel it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
somebody was sharing with me a story about somebody who read a book, and I really wish I knew the author, just because it's a very vague reference. But someone was sharing with me about this guy who like basically journaled his fasting, and like the more and more he fasted, he said the less and less he thought about the fact that he was fasting. So at the beginning, he was thinking like, "Oh, when will this be done?" Right? Like, I have 2 more hours left. Like, I can get through it. Right?
Yeah.
But then at the end, he's like, "Wow!" Like, he looks way beyond that and was like, "Wow, God is really just there serving these people." And so it's just like it becomes easier with time.
Have you ever like missed lunch and like you're just starving, and then it like after a few hours you just kind of come to terms with the fact that you missed lunch and that you're miserable, and like it gets easier to cope with.
I mean, working in food service, skipping meals was definitely a big portion of it. Where you're
Yeah.
like,
Which I find crazy.
you're like, oh, like I gotta get this line out. Like this is not happening. No lunch for me.
2 weeks ago.
Mm. I had a job where it was I had an 8-hour shift, but they didn't allocate for my half-hour lunch break, and lunch was taken off, so I have to clock in clock out during that time, which was so annoying because I was losing out like half an hour's worth of money. So I would always skip lunch. But I remember like those days, it was just like I eat my lunch at the bus stop because I was like, oh, it's been like 8 hours. But if you have like an objective or a goal, it's like, I'm gonna trudge on.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting idea too. It's like we can sacrifice food in order to, work harder or for the extra half hour, but we can't sacrifice food to see God more.
Right.
So it's like, oh, well, like what are our priorities there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that cuts deep.
It does cut deep.
And it is difficult in some ways to like see what fasting is really about in some senses. Like a lot of times I feel like we're like, okay, this is just so like I win some spiritual points, or like I don't, or like it's just like something I'm supposed to do. But there's like, as in everything in life, there's like a beauty and not only a purpose, but also like a good way to see God in that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it because I've never really fasted, and so I've been considering it for like
Yeah.
some of that stuff that I just like really need to give to God, but I haven't. Maybe that's a good way to start or to approach it.
Yeah.
Do it in a healthy manner. Don't endanger yourself. But like, if it's just so you're like, oh, like let me just get this out of the way, right? Let me just stuff my face before this, and then as soon as it's done, I'm like, right now. Like, is that really like, are you really surrendering that to God, or you're just like, oh, I'm doing this so I could say I did it?
Yeah.
Right.
checking off that box.